And I want our viewing audience to know that Fleet was the featured entertainer and just did a marvelous job for over 100 women that came out and showed up, and they were just elated. And he did a special song for Robbie Motter, who is the founder of the Global Society of Female Entrepreneurs. I just kind of learned to say all of that myself. And it was so magnificent. The love and joy in the room was palpable, to really see one another, to hug one another, to express our joy at being there. And Fleet was absolutely amazing. And so next week I'll have to introduce him and share his Lifetime Achievement Award from President Biden's. And we received, from Congress and the Senate and the mayors of Lake Elsinore and the mayor of Menifee, and it just goes on and on.
And the United States Congress.
Oh yes, and the United States Congress. So we were just deluged with all of this acknowledgement. And we don't do it for the acknowledgement, we do it for the joy and the loving what we do and doing what we love. But the universe does notice. And when the universe notices and acknowledges, that's really a special gift. And so we never say, oh, you shouldn't have, because then that is not accepting the gift from the universe. And I recently had someone, and I just love her so much. She's on Facebook, and she's a wonderful leader. And she received this amazing award and said she didn't feel deserving. And I wrote back to her and said, if you don't feel deserving, this is what you're teaching. And if you don't feel deserving, the universe will just like close you down and say, she doesn't feel deserving, so that blocks our flow. It's the law of circulation. And when we open to the law of circulation rather than congestion, and we acknowledge that through our action with intention and putting the works of the faith and our love and our energy and our soul into things, the world notices. So I learned very early on when I came into the science of mind way of life. And remember, the science of mind, the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, the revelations of religion applied to human need, and the aspirations of every living soul. That's religious science. And Dr. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder, he said, science, and he quoted Einstein. He said he only steals from the best. He said that science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind. That they go hand in hand because there's a cause and effect relationship in the universe. And I've absolutely loved our theme for the month, Miracles in May. And I do Miracles in May every year. And I come up with new miracles and new things that I get to observe. And it was interesting because, in our daily life, stuff happens. And so I took my car, it wouldn't lock, and then I couldn't get into the trunk, and I had things in my trunk. So I took it to my mechanic, and he said, well, we're going to have to do diagnostics, and, we're going to figure out what to do with this. And so I caught Lyft on the way home, and he calls back and he says, it's the whole vacuum system. And I want my car to lock because I don't want to create temptation, right? And I do have a 20-year-old car, but I love my car, and it has served me well. And so I thought, I've got this conference coming up. And he said, no, we're going to need the car for a couple of days. And we're going to have to order the part and all of that. So I was called, and I called AAA, and they're supposed to have a special deal. So what they do is we call the airport, and he goes, I said, I need it for, Wednesday and Thursday night, and I'll bring it back Friday. And he goes, oh, it's $300. Now I said, $300? That's ridiculous. He goes, well, let me, he gets on the computer. I'm on the phone. I can hear the click, click, click. And he says, oh, well, there is a Hertz rental down in Palm Desert at the Marriott. That's $86. I said, thank God for small miracles, right? To save over $200 on a car rental. And it's supposed to be this great discount. When I said to the gentleman, $300, he said, well, this is the airport. And I said, I don't care what it is, right? And so to me, I'm giving thanks for it. It looks like a small miracle, but what did Claudia read? There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not larger or smaller than another. All expressions of love are maximal. And so my dear friend, who's part of our spiritual community, Michael McGee, he took me to the car rental, and then he took my little Miss Minnie to take care of her for a few days. They even wanted her for an extra day because he said he's really missed her. And he has a Pomeranian and he's got a Schnauzer. And so they all get together and they're just so happy to be in doggy camp. So everything just worked, as we allow it to work out and to unfold. And because I wanted to go a day early. I was the keynote speaker, so I don't want to be in traffic, navigating traffic, so I can go on at 9 o'clock in the morning and, feel that all my life force energy is getting on that freeway, because it's a couple hour drive, but it was, everything flowed. I got there in Temecula, we had a garden party. I got there in an hour and a half, and we just had this amazing energy. And I'm thinking, this is a miracle of life. This is a beautiful garden here. It was this amazing expression of flowers and light and trees. And it was called Morning Star Estates. And you had to have a code to get in. So I'm on my GPS, I go to get in, and it says residents enter only. And I think, oh, well, I don't even know where the main gate is, because this is where my GPS led me. And I looked at, Siri and said, now Siri, there was a main gate here. And so I just thought, well, let me just sit here and breathe for a moment, because I'm here. And at that moment, a resident came, put their card in. I just went right around, followed him right in, and said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm in, right? So it looks like small miracles. And that things are, when we're in the flow and we're letting go and letting God do what God does best by means of us. Because the truth is, energetically, it's all God, whatever we conceive our God to be. When we get that, when we really understand that, when things come up in our lives and they get our attention, that too is God, energetically. I loved when Eckhart Tolle, who suffered from clinical depression, and he was suicidal, and he had, he said, these divine callings, and he kind of didn't know what to do with them, and he was starting to write, and he felt good about that. And as he began to write and as he began to embody the energy of spirit, everything lightened. And so, Emerson said the dice of God are always loaded. So he saw this casino, and he was completely out of money. Now, we're talking Eckhart Tolle, New York Times bestselling author. I mean, amazing, amazing man. Everyone calls him a mystic, and I feel that he is as well. And he said, he saw a casino. He said, all right, God, if you want me to continue this work, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to place a bet. I need $1,000. So he goes in, he places his bet, and he wins. He wins, right? And this was a sign and a symbol. And the Bible states, that wonders, the wonders that will follow, signs, symbols, and wonders. And so he won. That he said, and he finished his book. And then he went on from there and allowed his life to unfold with his life's mission, that this is what he was supposed to do. And what is so interesting is that we get discouraged, and disappointment, comes in, and we think, oh my gosh, this is my mission, but it's not working and I need money. But what is money? It's God's concrete form of substance, right? God's concrete form of substance, and it's a means of exchange. So when we love what we do and do what we love energetically, we have these confirmation moments where we go, yeah, I get it. I get it. We move through the discomfort. Dostoevsky said that I may be worthy of my sufferings. In other words, that I may be redeemed and learn from my sufferings, that I may go out and then serve others through my suffering. We had an amazing woman who gave a talk. Her name was Lori Rope, and she helps people write their books. and she has written a book, How to Write Your Book. She said, how many would like it? Of course, I raised my hand. I mean, I've co-authored, I'm in Louise Hay's book on gratitude. I'm in Maria Yasabruru, who is affectionately my Apache niece, and she wrote a book called Turtle Island, and I, contributed to that. I've contributed to so many, and lately, the power is in the asking, right? Showing up. Robbie Motter got us all together, 46 of us. It was now an Amazon bestseller, and now it's an international bestseller, 46 co-authors. And my chapter is Life is a Daring Adventure. And I really believe that, and I feel that at the deepest level. So here, Robbie Motter at 85 years old is she's the president of the Global Society for Female Entrepreneurs. She gets this, 46 of her closest friends together to contribute to the book. Not only goes on the Amazon bestsellers, but it's an international bestsellers, and all the major publishing houses now have picked it up, including Barnes and Noble, and we can just go Books, and it just goes on and on. And when there is that intention and that energy that allows us to say, this is what I want to do, and we all have moments of discouragement. We have all moments of when we were tempted to quit. And I was recently interviewed on Shout Out, and it said, have you ever been tempted to quit? And I said, no. I said, I recreate whatever is going on. And this is what I love about our way of life. And this is miraculous. When we recreate what our experience is, we then take it to the next level. And as Goethe said, all of providence is lifted in our favor. The universe is in our favor. And so when we open to say, I'm going to recreate this experience. And in the 46 years, in June, 46 years of being in the ministry, when I knew it was time to leave San Diego, I knew I was complete there. Then my ministry, went on. I was briefly in Pasadena, and then Terry Cole Whitaker called me and wanted me to come to Palm Springs, and it just felt right. I'll be here 20 years, September 1st, here in Palm Springs. Thank you. And it's been an amazing journey, an amazing, amazing journey. And when we look at the miracles that show up in our lives, that we kind of disregard them. But if we are really living our faith and our energetically, knowing that this energy with God, life, Yahweh, Buddha, leading the way, right? Leading the way. This is the way, walk ye in it. This is the way. And I love the story about the dad. Mom, I had to be at work earlier than Dad. So, and then they would take turns on, making dinner. We just love equality, don't we? Yes. And so Dad knew that the kids needed vegetables and healthy things. So he would put them in little plastic containers, and he would wrap them up with ribbons and bows and Christmas decorations and put them on the table and say, this is very special and very good for you. So they would unwrap it, and they were all excited, they're 3 and 4. And there would be the veggies. And they would say, oh, Dad, this is so sweet. And so he conditioned them that things that were good for them came in wonderful wrappings and would serve them all the days of their lives. And I thought, what amazing. To me, it's just miraculous that a dad would think of wrapping up the veggies in Christmas wrappings and lovely bows and serve it there at the table. I mean, I thought it was so original and so amazing. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was wonderful. And then I was reading a story about a man in Michigan when they had the floods and he lost everything. And he had this like intuition, this kind of little miraculous moment when he went into the convenience store. And he said, I'm not really a lottery buyer, but he bought a lottery scratch-off ticket. And he said he got home, scratched it. He won $2 million on one little lottery ticket because he heard the voice, and he had lost everything. They lost everything in the flood. And there was the universe. He had this little intuitive voice: be still and know that I am God, and that I am with you always, even unto the ends of the earth. Be still and know. And I just love the way life works. And I love that intuitive voice. And that when we listen to that intuitive voice, things unfold at a higher frequency. And we've all said, if I'd only listened to my intuition, right? We've all said it, each and every one of us. And another miraculous instance was a young man who was looking for his birth mother. And he'd been looking for a couple of years. And he worked at Walmart. And every day he'd go to Maggie, she had like the concession, the food concession, and they just really related. And he was just telling about his life and looking for his mom, and and she was very supportive of him, and he would tell her all his like deep secrets, and she was there for him, and they had this amazing relationship, and they just really adored each other. And finally, it came through. Now, it was not always easy to find birth parents. It was not always easy. And you had to jump through a lot of hoops, and there were like things of confidentiality and privacy laws and all of that. And so finally, he received the name of Margaret O'Hara, which was his birth mother. And so he went to Maggie and he said, "Oh, I know who, I got her name." I went closer, I got her name, Margaret O'Hara, and gave her the date. And she said, "Oh my God, my son, you're my son. And I had you on that day, and my maiden name, because she had married, Margaret O'Hara." Can you imagine that moment? And she came around the counter and they just held each other in this miraculous moment. Oh my God, my son. And I have thought about you every single day of your life. Not a day has gone by that I've not thought of you and not carried you in my heart. And as they held each other and they felt that heartbeat, the light just opens up. Miracles happen. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not larger or smaller than another. All expressions of love are maximal. And so as we join together and have that willingness to know that, hey, I got this idea. I'm at the convenience store. I'm going to buy a little scratch-off lottery ticket. Or as Eckhart Tolle, all right, God, give me a sign. If I'm to continue my work, I'll go in there because I know the dice of God are always loaded. A sign, a symbol, and wonders will follow. And the energy, that amazing energy that we call love, and that when we love what we do and do what we love, to me, that's a miracle. And you know what? There are things that I do, I'm like, when the shutdown occurred, the lockdown, I'm doing like what 7 volunteers did. They do their little job, and then someone else would do their little job. So, and I'm doing it all, and I'm just kind of amazed at the miracle that I've stepped in, and I have taught myself things, and I'm on the internet, and I'm doing things with constant contact, things that I never thought I would be doing, right? And so to me, that's a miracle, that we learn and we grow, and that as we evolve in life, and when I gave the keynote address at the women's conference and have so many young women just come up and say, oh, I got so much value from what you shared. It was so amazing. And I will be 77 in July. And I feel at a very deep level that I see these young women, young men coming up, the future generation. I have lots of hope. I have lots of affirmation that when George Bernard Shaw said, life is no brief candle for me, it is rather a splendid torch that I have a hold of just for the moment. And I'm going to hold on to it as long as I can before passing it on to future generations. And he was so clear about that torch as we pass it on. And he said, I don't want to be a complaining little piece of humanity. I want to hold that torch for as long as I can before passing it on to future generations. And I have great hope for our future generations. My young 12-year-old grandson is very sensitive and very loving. And I see the future of humanity, in his eyes. So every time someone comes into our energy field and they are wonderful, we know energetically that it's all part of the miraculous. And as we build on this miraculous moment and these amazing situations, and as we acknowledge that, maybe it looks something like simple as saving over $200 on a car rental, when you speak up, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not larger or smaller than another. And that as Maggie and Jimmy embraced in Walmart, in the little food court, the whole planet was uplifted in that moment, because love finds itself, and that love moves out in waves of light. And the fact that for 5 years there they were in this amazing relationship, and the universe opened that door and says, here is your mother. And she says, this is my beloved son, who I have thought of every single day of our lives for 24 years. And here we are in this divine embrace that just moves out in waves of light. And everyone and anyone who came within their energy field, I feel, was healed and uplifted in their presence, because that's what miracles do. Miracles happen when we let go and let God do what God does best by means of each and every one of us who hear that call and answer that call. And we keep our word, and we are impeccable with our word. Amazing things unfold out of that. Remember, he drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. And so on this day, we are taking those in. We had an incident before the service, with the neighbor that had reported me for doing services and running a business out of my home here, which 4 days later, the Supreme Court ruled that California ministries may meet in homes. This is how miracles work. 4 days later, the Supreme Court. And when I say we're going higher yet, I loved it. Claudia said, yes, you did go higher. You went to the highest court in the land, right? And responded. And that I had people in this park that wrote letters in my behalf as well. And it was so wonderful to have that affirmation. But I extended the olive branch to her. And she still, got that, shall we call it, an energy of dis-ease. And so we just keep sending compassion and sending her love, even though, it's uncomfortable at the moment. My neighbors are gone to Washington. And so I'm having Shirley park her car there so that there aren't a lot of cars on the street, even though I'm living way up here on the hill and I'm on the trail, right? And So if there are any parking police around, we don't have too many. We only have one car on the street today, right? So even these little disgruntled energies that are not happy within themselves and look outside themselves, they're the ones that need our compassion the most. They really do. And they're the ones that's the hardest to give. They just are. You want to, knock them upside the head and say, get it. But the truth is, we just keep sending love and compassion. And when I see her, I wave, and she kind of, does her thing. And I just keep sending out love and sending out love. Because when we send out the love, guess what? Miracles happen. What do? Miracles happen. Let's say miracles happen because we are the miracle makers and miracle minded. And we are on a path. And where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. For we are in a high place and we will not come down. None of these outer things move us. We are in a high place and we will not come down. And I say to you, namaste. That divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. And the divinity within you salutes the divinity within me. And if I am in that place in me and you are in that place in you, there is only one of us. Namaste. Shalom, the peace that passes all understanding. And God bless us every single day.